Well, so just so you know, this is the 15-minute hot seat. Three questions under 15 minutes or less. And hopefully I could be best of service to you. And so fire away. But first, you gotta let me know, where are you dialing in from? And yeah, where are you dialing in from?
Yeah, I am in Smyrna, Tennessee, just south of Nashville.
Nice,
I
nice.
have a rental property in Clarksville, Tennessee, which is almost into Kentucky, not quite. It's about an hour and a half away from me. Um, and I
Okay.
actually just found my first midterm tenant like 2 days ago, so I'm super, super stoked about that. Um,
Amazing. Where did it come from?
Furnish Finder,
Beautiful. How many bedrooms?
3.
Nice. Excellent. Tell me, what questions do you have? Sounds
So
like you're
I
already
saw
crushing it.
Yeah, I saw your email blast come out a couple times talking about coverage D with the insurance.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering, so if you know what the average price is in the area, how do you take the coverage D
Mhm.
and break that down into an average like nightly or sorry, monthly rental
Yeah.
price?
Sure, sure. So here's the rule of thumb just for context. So the coverage D, the way it works, it's anywhere from 20 to 30% of the coverage A, which is the dwelling value. If for napkin math, because we don't know exactly what the dwelling value is or what from the land value, it's typically we're taking 20 to 30% of what the home value is worth, right? So if your property, for example, that three-bedroom home, how much is that worth?
About 250.
250. Okay, cool. So let's say the reason why that's important is because the reason you start with your property that you know is your subject property is because insurance companies or insurance adjusters are typically going to go based on a like to like comparable. They're going to try to find a comparable within that zip code. So let's say that property is what, 250 you said. If
Mhm.
we do, let's go on the high side, 30% of that, that's 75,000 of a loss of use coverage D. Now, what you're asking is a very good question based on if it's water damage, you typically know that that might be like a 3 to 4 month stay, right? It can take longer. Things take longer. If it's fire, you know you're looking at anywhere from like 6 to 9 months, right? So knowing that information, I think is critical because if you have that 75,000, if you were to divide it by 12, well, obviously that's a 12-month stay, which is typically on the rare side. But and the reason that's important because if you were to take 75,000 divided by 12, you would have a $6,250 a month, which would mean that, if it was water damage, you could actually squeeze the juice and get a little bit more out of that. But keep in mind that it's all relative. It's all baseline, right? Sometimes it could exceed 75,000. Sometimes they might not have much ALE, additional living expense left in their budget because maybe they were in a hotel for the last 2 months. So there's a lot of nuances, and the best way to get the greatest ballpark is by asking the right question. Hey, by the way, do you happen to know, if they reach out and they say we had water damage, then you kind of can start painting a picture and you can use that numerator, 75,000, and use those months as the denominator. It doesn't mean you're going to be, it's going to get approved for that much, but you at least know what's reasonable and what's not. Does that make sense?
So then do you just take the amount that they have and divide that by how many months you think that they're gonna stay? Okay.
Sure. So typically I like to find a sweet spot, right? So if it's like water damage, I'll do, okay, cool. What would it look like if I did 75,000 divided by 6? Okay, cool. That's 12,000. Okay. That doesn't mean I'm going to get approved for 12,000, but would it be unreasonable for me to do 12,000? No, it would not. There's a good chance someone has landed a contract for that price range for that time. Now, if it's fire, you know that if you do 12,000 a month, that's probably going to break their budget, and that's unrealistic as far as the math goes. So you would probably go and be a little bit more aggressive, less aggressive, and do divided by, let's say, 9 months. If you divide that by 9 months, that's 8,300. Now, keep in mind the adjuster's always going to want to be conservative too. They're not going to just throw their money away, right? So, and things could take longer. So, in that case, you could even do 12 months, right? Because you don't know, right? And they don't want to ever over budget. and they know things can take longer. So you know that's kind of like the ballpark you want to play in. So yes, you take your numerator, which is the coverage D. Now, mind you, some coverages might be 20%. Remember, I did 30%. So maybe it might be a little less. So based on that knowledge, you take that 75,000 as your numerator, and then you divide it by the amount of months you can see for. And what I like to do is when I'm putting my property um uh um the price that I'm putting on the internet, that's what I'm gonna put. I'm gonna put the most aggressive one because it's always easy to negotiate down, but it's harder to negotiate
Yeah.
back up, right? So that's
Okay.
kind of the rule of thumb.
Okay. Um, that actually kind of answers another question that I had, was if it's kind of up for negotiation or depends on the house and the area, then do you just kind of put like a ballpark price on there? Because um, I kind of have mine set a little bit low right now because this is our first rental property and we were just trying to get somebody like our first tenant in there for the long-term stay. So I should probably go back and adjust them like accordingly to what the coverage D would say, like maybe about 6 months to be safe.
Yeah, so here's what I would say. It all depends about what your exit strategy is, right? Like if you're at the end of the day, you got to do the math that makes sense for you, right? So let's say you're like, hey, Ruben, I think I get tons of traffic with, the furnished finder leads because I'm close to a hospital and I think that makes sense. If you price yourself at a premium, you're going to price everybody out, right? But if you're saying, hey, you know what? I don't mind double dipping. If I get an insurance contract, great. But if I don't, I'm also in that sweet spot where I'm not completely off the market where, someone's not going to want to inquire. Now, if you're like kind of like where we're at, we're like, hey, no, we're like all insurance, right?
Mhm.
And if we don't have insurance, we'll do Airbnb in the middle as the hybrid. That's also just understanding your exit strategy because, some people might look at your price and say that's too high for me, but if you as an operator would actually be okay with that price, you've priced yourself out for them. So I would be, if you want, put it this way, if you want to be aggressive, I'd go on Zillow Rental Manager. That's where I would be aggressive. If you want to be more like, hey, actually, I actually do want to get bookings, not just from insurance, then on Furnished Finder, I would go a little bit, lower than what you would go you'd be a little less aggressive because to your point, for example, you got an MTR stay in your 3 bedroom. Was that insurance related or what was that? What was the
No, it's a relocation. It's a nurse, but she's relocating because of the VA, because there's a military base right
right?
there.
Right. So you want to make sure that you understand what they're looking for, what that price range is. I would even reach out to that person that's staying there and be like, hey, do you happen to have a contact that you work with? Foster the relationship. The relationship will go a long way, and then they'll let you know what their range is. You don't want to be too aggressive where it's great to be aggressive and get the best bang for your buck, but if it means that you're missing out on other opportunities too, you want to find that sweet spot as well. And then over time, when people start booking for more and more, then you can start increasing your price more and more. But I think you're in a perfect place though.
Okay.
Yeah.
My last question would be, how did you first start getting and fostering the relationships with these insurance companies? Because I feel like that's where I'm kind of like struggling right now,
Yeah,
is how
sure.
to start doing that.
Yeah, sure. So to be clear, when we get an insurance contract, really we're working through the relocation, temporary relocation company, right? So just to be clear. So for example, when we hear like CRS, THD, ALE Solutions, those are not the insurance companies. They're the actual third party that works directly with the insurance companies. So all the relationships we've built are with those companies. Now, simply what I did originally was I put all my properties in their database. When they reached out, then at the bottom of the email, there's their phone number. There's obviously the email. That's a contact for me. Now, I like to call them. I'll say, hey, Sarah, what's the best way for me? Like, I really enjoyed, getting this family booked. But what's the best way for me to be able to help you to continue to get other families booked? Oh, well, yeah, if you send me an email periodically, I'll check up on it. Okay, great. But what's a good time? Is it like once a month, twice a month, right? You're just fostering a relationship, understanding like, hey, I don't want to spam you. I just want to reach out and see what's the best way for me to get our properties in front of you. Maybe it's one property, maybe it's two, but I want to foster a relationship. What's the best way? Ask them. They'll let you know. The way I did it, there's two ways, right? Being in the database is number one, getting their contact, saving their contact in like an Excel document, which was, essentially a CRM, customer relationship management tool. And then one thing I would always do too is when I would forward them my properties, I would also say, if you're currently, is there a family in need in X area, right? In your specific area where you're at. And then I would specifically ask, I would say, by the way, if you are not currently looking to relocate a family in this location, could you kindly forward this to a colleague uh who may be in need? And
Yeah.
now that call to action is very important because then I would get an email from like John, hey, Sarah put me in touch and she said you had some properties in this area. I'm looking to relocate a family. Guess what? Now John becomes my contact. And then I do the same thing with John. And then John introduces me to someone else. And it's kind of a ripple effect, right? So you always want to ask for either permission, not permission, but you want to ask, could you not even ask? You want to give a very direct call to action. If you don't have anything in this area and you're currently not looking, could you forward this to someone on your team who may be in need? And that call to action, believe it or not, as simple as it is, really helps kind of like, oh yeah, sure, let me just forward that email to the team. And then your name circulates around and then you become kind of that local gal next door that's willing to help, right? That's available to them. And it's not even a volume thing, it's a quality thing. So if you're thinking like, okay, like let me build my list to 100, I would say focus on building like 5 strong relationships, advocates within the company, because these are small companies. And if you have an advocate, like, oh, Sarah, she's wonderful. Even when she doesn't have something, she always gives me like, a reference or connects me with someone. You should connect with Sarah. Those are the kind of the conversations I want to happen, whether it's internally, that's what I want. I want them to be like, hey, oh, just whenever in doubt in Georgia, reach out to Ruben. Right.
Perfect. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you answering my questions.
Absolutely. And I'm very stoked for your midterm rental that you got. I cannot wait to hear more of your success. Please, if you get like, like an outcome from this and you got some value, definitely like share it like on social with me or like just tag me or like DM me or be like, Ruben, I got another one. Cause that's why I do what I do. And I really love to hear it when other people are like getting success from
Yeah.
any insights I can plug.
Yeah, I definitely will. Yeah, I'm excited. I really love your content and I'm hoping to grow this. I'm hoping to add 3 more doors this year.
Just make the decision. It's already done. You don't even got to hope for it. Just go get
That's
them.
true.
I love that. Good for you. Well, if there's any way that I can help, I'm just a DM away. And I'll make sure it doesn't go to spam or anything like that. If it does, just continue to ping me and be like, hey, it's me. And I'll make it there because sometimes it like filters it out and it's frustrating. Otherwise, Sarah, continue to help families and keep yourself occupied, increase that occupancy and profitability, and that's what it's all about. And as you're helping other families and people relocate, I love the space that we're in.
Perfect. Yeah, I do too. I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you conquer the rest of your time. And are you on? Have you grabbed my midterm rental insurance blueprint yet?
I do. Yeah, I
Okay,
actually
so
have it
then
up on one of my tabs. I was looking at it earlier.
yeah, make sure you subscribe because and you'll get that because I do give a lot of insights. Sometimes I'll do some webinars and stuff like that. So and then obviously there's tons of resources that you can have a look at on my website as well if you need it. So super.
Perfect. Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, Sarah. Absolutely.
Bye.
Pleasure is mine. Bye-bye.